And it's so funny, like guys, I'll speak for men here, especially alpha males, like successful guys. It's hard to admit they're wrong. Wrong. Not wrong. All right. And so we make mistakes and we try to justify it. In 1990, I bought a blue tile for my kitchen. So I justified it for the next 2 years buying furniture that matched it. And then somebody came in and told me, nobody puts dark blue tile on a kitchen floor. But for 2 years, I bought a bunch of crap that tried to match it, furniture literally around the kitchen to justify it. And then I realized I don't like blue furniture either. I made a big mistake. You've all gone to the Home Shopping Network at night. You buy that knife that can cut a quarter. But you've never really needed to cut a quarter. You need to cut an enchilada for dinner or something, right? Or a steak. And you buy a couch that's uncomfortable and you sit on it night after night and you're like, this isn't comfortable. I'll go buy a beanbag for $32. This is what the Bears are doing. Ryan Pace drafted Mitch Trubisky. He's trying to justify it now. His presence has never been the problem. His professionalism has never been the problem. The problem is he's an average arm talent. There ain't no special. He wasn't special in college. He's not special in the NFL. He throws for about a touchdown a game. And that's with a really, really clever offensive coach. He's a good kid. He works really hard. This is not personal. But I've said this. Joe Burrow, who I've been critical of, is a much, much better prospect. Baker Mayfield is a much, much better prospect. Andrew Luck's not even in the same galaxy. He's a good kid. Guys struggle to acknowledge they make big mistakes. Chicago, you bought a steak knife that cuts through a quarter. You don't need to cut through a quarter. You got blue tile for your kitchen. Admit you whiffed. You could have had Mahomes. There's a lot of guys you could have had Deshaun Watson. You made a mistake. Eric Mangini's thoughts on what the Bears are trying to now sell us.
This is one of those situations where it's just going from bad to worse. You don't pick up the fifth-year option. You obviously don't have a ton of faith in Trubisky, and you go in and get someone that you think you're going to bring in and is going to start and going to be an upgrade, and you've got to give away draft capital to do it. You've got to make a significant financial commitment to do it, and then he can't win the job. And there they are. They're stuck with two guys that the whole not just this coaching staff and the organization, but the whole team knows there's no enthusiasm for.
You cannot fool the players. You whiffed. Own it. Move on. But now it's time for another edition of Colin Says Obvious Stuff and yet gets yelled at and hate mail like the Raiders aren't going to be very good because their schedule's tough and they were awful last year. Now it's time to say something else that's obvious. The Belichick Cam thing has worked better, at least from a PR standpoint, than I thought, but this is going to be a really bad football team. But I will acknowledge Belichick likes Cam likes Bill, kumbaya. Belichick went on to say, Cam's worked really hard. He's done everything we've asked. So far, so good. But this feels really obvious to me. Let me just point out a couple little odds and ends. After Halloween, which is late October, the Patriots scored 25 points once against the dreadful Bengals. That was with Tom Brady, who had memorized the system. They were 4-5 in their last 9 games. They have had 8 players opt out, and they lost several key starters to free agency and replaced none of them. Oh yeah, the draft, they're not great at that, and never draft somebody that makes an immediate star impact. Oh, and let's throw this out there. Peter King on the show yesterday brought up an interesting point on how little firepower they have offensively.
Pro Football Focus has been doing numbers on every NFL player for the last 14 years, since 2006. And collectively, the receiving core of the New England Patriots in 2019 was the worst as a team that they've ever graded on any team in 14 years.
It's like, this is not disputable. No functional tight end, no deep threat. The legendary offensive line coach is gone. Brady's out. Gronk's gone. It's bad. So here's the good news. I have them at 5-11. That's where I have them finishing 5-11. I have until Thursday to make amendments to my predictions. I'm thinking about 6-10 because the Cam Belichick thing has worked pretty well. But I thought they'd be 500 when Cam arrived. Then they had 8 players opt out. Didn't replace anybody in free agency. It's like, okay, this is a bad team. So look at their schedule. Now, here's the good news if you're a Patriot fan. Belichick historically is a nightmare for young quarterbacks. I mean, he literally eats them alive. Josh Allen and Sam Darnold have faced Belichick about a half dozen times. They've been awful in all of the games. So the good news is they face the Broncos, Bills, Jets, Cardinals, Dolphins, Bills, Jets. Young quarterbacks. Those are the games where I think New England has a chance to not score much, but just win a game based on turnovers, special teams, a Belichick win. But the rest of that thing is 37-year-old Ryan Fitzpatrick, Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, Mahomes, Garoppolo, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, at LA and at the Rams, Goff and Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor makes no mistakes, been around the league a long time. He's not going to be duped into a 4-interception game, and Jared Goff's got a lot of weapons. I just don't think they're very good. And as I've said before, I don't believe the NFL, Jacksonville's tanking. You can call it whatever you want. I don't care. But I think Belichick knows there's 3 world-class quarterback prospects next year. He knows because of Brady, you can't win in this league at the elite level without superstar quarterback play. And I think Belichick knows he had a losing record in Cleveland when he didn't have that. And I think New England is targeting a restructuring year. Take the year off, guys. Won't replace free agents. Drafted projects more than star players. I don't think New England's a good football team. I think they're 5-11, 6-10 max, and I think the Raiders are equally abysmal, and I don't think they're hot takes. I think if you look at the schedule, I look at last year at the end of the year, the Patriots were bad and couldn't score. The Raiders were bad and couldn't score. I don't think in a year with no OTAs in preseason, you can flip that around. I don't think you can do it. I think if you're bad last year at the end of the year, you need OTAs, you need a good draft, you need free agency. You just don't shake a wand and go, we'll be good. They were bad last year. They were bad. Raiders were bad, and the Patriots at the end of the year could not beat good teams. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.